Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Industry Perspectives. I'm your host, Ainsley Bowden, and on this chat episode, I'm speaking with Joseph Moran, host of A Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. Now, Joseph and I have known each other for a little while now, and we wanted to talk about all things gaming related, including how he got into creating content for PlayStation, his growing up with Nintendo and Xbox, why Bloodborne is his favorite game of all time, which we touch on, along with obviously topics from around the industry and covering of content, creation, YouTube, etc. Let's jump into it. All right, and for this episode of IP Chat, as I said prior, is Mr. Joseph Moran, host of The Trophy Room, a PlayStation show. What is happening, my friend?
Man, I'm doing really great. And you want to know why I'm doing so great?
Let's hear it.
You
that beautiful camera?
Well, not just the beautiful camera. You are probably the first person to say my show's name right. Everybody says the PlayStation Trophy Room.
Yeah. I remember we joked about that before, and I always make a point when I have guests, no matter it's Bitcast here or whatever, to always look at their actual content before we talk. I mean, not that I'm not always seeing the content, but you know what I mean? Go in and just take a look because it's important. You got to get it right.
Yeah. Everybody, and I get why. So, because our Twitter handle is PS Trophy Room.
Yeah.
So I get why people say PlayStation Trophy Room. So I never put it against them. And I'm also the same way where when I have a guest on the Trophy Room, I now say, I'm going to mispronounce your name. I know who you are. I'm just nervous that I'm going to screw your name up. And in the process, I will screw your name up. So
I think we're all guilty of it. It happens. Yeah. Especially, with a name like Ainsley, you don't get surprised by that anymore. You're just like, you say what you're going to say. No big deal.
Your name's unique, so I can't forget it. But I've been good, man. I'm tired because here in Jersey, I don't know about you, but here in Jersey, we've gotten so much snow.
You guys are getting hit, man. I mean, we talked about it, right? I'm from that area, so I've lived it. I know what it's like.
Yeah, it's every day now. It's like and today, it's one of those aggravating ones. It's like it's a dusting, but my brother's like, no, we got to do it right now. Because it's going to turn into ice. And I'm like, but I doubt it, though. He's like, no, it's going to turn into ice. I'm like, God, why? We're supposed to get more in the weekend. I hate this. I liked it in the beginning because of hot chocolate, but now not anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting living in the Midwest now because the temperature range is about the same. You get the really hot days in the summer, you get the really cold days in the winter. But we just get less snow here. Right now, it's bitter as hell. But we've got an inch, we just don't get as much snow. So a lot less shoveling, which is nice.
Yeah, man, your back must be thanking you.
Nowadays, I'm getting old, man. I can't be out there shoveling.
No, I got no time for that, man.
But man, thanks for coming on, man. I'm really loving these conversations. When I've told people when I decided to kind of bring this back in a different format, if you will. I didn't know what people were going to think of it, and the feedback's just been tremendous. So with the conversation so far, so been looking forward to having you on because I do think you have a unique position out of all the people I interact with, a unique position in the channel media space, particularly focusing on a single platform from a very positive stance, and I love the content you put out. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. And congrats. I know I just said this before the show, but for, the people who are going to be watching this later this week, congrats on the 1,000 Twitter followers, man.
Thank you.
Great milestone.
That means a lot. Yeah. I was actually, funny thing was, I said that out right before I was going into an interview. And so I actually used that as one of my interviewing things of talking about. I have the Trophy Room on my portfolio. So just talk about it. I'm like, yeah, and I'm just like, so I have 1,000 Twitter followers, hopefully by the end of this interview. And one guy, he shall remain nameless. But he's like, so what's your ratio at? And when I tell him that, he's like, have you thought about monetization? And I'm like, whoa, I don't know. It's nothing like that, man. But yeah, it's been crazy to see the growth of not just YouTube's one thing, which we'll talk about it soon. I don't really care for it. I am a podcaster when I think of what I am and what I do. I'm a podcaster first. Everything has to go back to that podcast. So it's like seeing the growth of the channel over the past year isn't so surprising because I knew that was going to be the case, but it's awesome to see it retain and seeing the positive folks that we're bringing into our circle. You know?
Yeah. No, I completely get it. One of the things I've said many times about SG is, you know, there are things we could obviously do, and I'm sure we'll jump into some of those that would pull in an audience faster, right?
Yeah.
But it's not going to be the audience I want. And one of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that we have continued to grow, and the audience continues to be those really kind of core positive gamers that really just want to play and talk about games. So yeah, it's one of the things I applaud on your side as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, and that's why I love your content, because it is so like-minded of us, where our thing of our way of thinking is like, we're growing smart. We're not here to grow faster, be an overnight sensation. I know how to make a thumbnail and do a thing that's going to hit a couple thousand, but like, is that thing that I'm going to be talking about worth me talking about?
Yeah.
Answer is probably not. So
probably not. And you know, we see it day in, day out from a lot of channels and places. And I'm sure we'll get more into that too. I think the other point on that I like to make and tell people is, look, I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for any other reason than the passion of loving gaming, right? And loving talking about it and meeting people like yourself. If I wasn't doing this, I would have never met you or Luke or anyone else, you know.
Well, that's like Luke is maybe the negative part.
Maybe
not
like
Luke. Everything else.
You know, we could do that. But I mean, you know, that's why I'm doing it, right? And whenever I decide to stop this, if I decide to stop this, I'll be able to look back on the content and say, look, that's content I put out, I'm proud of, and I really enjoyed it at the time. I didn't do it just to get clicks. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's always been a big thing for me. So anyway, let's talk about how you got into it a little bit then, man. I know you've been on Vidcast, obviously, and we talked about it at a high level. And I remember you saying one thing that jumped out to me that most people may not know. So I figured as we're having a one-on-one conversation here, it may be good to touch on it, is that I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, you had told me previously that you were a big Xbox guy in the 360 era. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And before that, I was a Nintendo kid.
Okay. So you've done it all.
I've done it all. And I think that's the reason why I'm not like, you know, why Xbox is going to fail in 2021.
Yeah.
Like dude, I just love games. And the funniest thing when I look back at like where I am now to where I was like, I remember getting a PS2 as a kid and going, oh, this isn't an Xbox. But I know that they wanted me to be happy, so I'm going to be happy with Gran Turismo right now.
Yeah.
Like, my PS2 was my secondary console for Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter. And so moving into the 360,
Jak and Daxter, man. Great games.
It needs to come back.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I just, yeah.
But, like, I was a 360 kid for almost the longevity of that generation. Like, I mean, I'll tell this story as tired as it is. I didn't get a 360 at launch. My mom promised it for me for Christmas. Okay. And my mom, or the promise was on Christmas. She's like, Joe, I don't have anything for you this year. I feel like a shitty parent, but I'm not going to go out there and spend $3,000 for a scalped one. So here's what I'm going to do. Just promise. I'm going to promise you that I'm going to make this up to you. And I'm gonna get you the best post-Christmas gift. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Hey, she sounds like a sweetheart, man.
My mom is.
That's awesome.
Honestly, yeah, I love her to death so much. Like, she is my best friend. She's amazing.
That's fantastic.
And she, I think it's like early January. I'm in gym class. I'm like in 7th grade, I think, 6th or 7th. And I get a call from the office, just like a general, like from the teleprompter going like, Joe, pack your things, get out of here. You know, your mother's waiting for you. And I'm like, what's happening? I don't have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to take me out of school though. How awesome this is. What's going on? So I thought one of my grandparents died. And so I was thinking more of my grandma, wrong grandparent. I go to the office And I go, Mom, what's going on? What's wrong, Grandma? My mom's like, what? Grandma's fine. I'm like, why are you taking me out of here? She's like, Joe, just come with me. And I remember getting into the hallway. No, I'm not even out the door yet. There's like this weird little hallway within a hallway that leads you out the door. And I'm like, what happened to Grandma? She's like, Joe, remember that Xbox you want? I'm like, yes. She's like, I got you one. And I was like, okay. And you're taking me out of school? She's like, yeah, am I not supposed to? I'm like, no, you're good. My mother literally went to a Best Buy at like 10 o'clock in the morning, right? I don't even know if she had to camp out or whatever. She just saw a basic Xbox, the arcade edition, then bought the hard drive on top of that, and then bought me Call of Duty 2.
Great game. Yeah.
Great game. And I think also Morrowind, if I'm not mistaken. There was one or two games.
For 360 would have been Oblivion.
Oblivion, sorry. Did I say more? Yeah, Oblivion.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting down, wasting that whole afternoon just playing Call of Duty 2 in the Russian level where you're sneaking through the tunnels. Like, that is one of my most fondest memories of gaming, because it just goes to show my mother's commitment to my hobby more than anything.
That's awesome, man. It's funny. It's a different generation because I'm older, like we were joking about. But you know, my mom, I don't, not going to get into your situation, of course. But you know, my parents separated at a young age, and I've told many stories of my mom not having any money and us, you know, not having much of anything. But she always went out of her way. Once I got into gaming, like I got a Sega Master System in '86, and she was a hairdresser, still is. And she would barter. She would cut this woman's hair at KB Toys for free, and the woman at KB Toys would buy a game with her discount and a Sega game and give it to my mom to give to me. So that's like
so cool.
So like every 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, my mom would come home with just some random game. You know, I'd be coming up from school and there'd be a game waiting for me. And that's the only way she could afford to kind of get me games. But
But that kind of also, like, it's the coolest thing as a kid. First off, your mother sees that you love this thing and she's not trashing all over it. Instead, she's like doing what she can to provide you with, like, you must have been, I'm just assuming, because if it was my generation, the coolest kid in class, because you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No.
Never mind.
No.
If you had like the latest game as a kid, because games back then were like $60, $80, $100 in the 90s.
Yes.
You know, and they were a rarity, especially for us kids.
Yeah.
And so, like, for us to get, like, when I got Smash Brothers, everybody's like, "Can I come over and play?"
That's
Please,
true.
You know,
That's
so
true.
Like, having one every month is like, guaranteed a play date.
I should probably qualify that. In school, no. In my neighborhood, yes.
Okay.
So we had I lived in townhouses, so there were a lot of kids, you know, and we had kind of this core group of 10 to 12 maybe kids that would just hang out every day. But a lot of that time was spent in my house playing games. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. For me, it was just like, I remember getting a Nintendo SP and everybody in the bus, because it was like a field trip on that day. Again, my mother crushing it as a parent, just giving me things for my birthday and stuff.
That thing was awesome. Yes,
dude, it was awesome. Everybody's like, it has a backlit screen.
Yeah, dude. And it was like this big. Like, it's awesome. I used to sit in my first, shows the difference in age. I was, when I started my career, I worked in a command center just watching screens for a contact center. And I had to work Saturdays, and you know, it's really quiet, and I'd be sitting there just all day on my SP, just playing away. Yeah,
and like that little system, I remember just like, oh, I'm just gonna play some Advance Wars Flip. Like, people are like, what? Yeah,
that's awesome. So so let's see. You grew up Nintendo, right? You get the Xbox Arcade, you get the hard drive. And you went through the 360 generation. So then what led you eventually to PlayStation?
So here's the funny thing. There's only so many red rings one could take before they start questioning their company, their allegiance. Mine was about 6 or 7 between me and my brother. We went through a lot of 360s. And it was the one that hurt the most was, it was the Xbox Slim. It was the Halo 3 edition.
Okay.
That red ringed on me, the one that's not supposed to. And apparently, like something like the graphics card within it, like melted or whatever, because I was getting blue screens like crazy.
Okay.
And so what I did, and this is why you never buy a used system at GameStop, I did the penny trick, put some pennies in it, made sure it turned on, and then I just sold it to GameStop, and I was done with it. But it hurt. It was like I was putting down my dog. Like it really crushed me because I love that console.
Yeah.
So the reason why I switched to PlayStation, it's hilarious because I was a fanboy. Like, of course I was a teenager, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So like my thing's better. My cousin worked at a Sony style, which is the Sony equivalent of an Apple store. Okay. And so she could have got me PlayStation games off discount for free. And I'm like, no, Sony's stupid. Why would I want this? She once gave me a GameStop card in a PS3 tin just to troll me. And so it was the PlayStation 3 blackout. I remember listening to one of my first episodes of Beyond, and that's the thing that's going to fuel my podcasting in the future. And I was working at GameStop, and this guy that was clearly selling his PlayStation for weed was selling his PlayStation for weed, and he didn't have any of the wires. Nice. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy this thing off you. GameStop says we'll only give it to you for like 50, 60. I'll give it to you for cool, I think it was like $80.
Okay.
And he's just like, whatever, just want weed. I was like, awesome. So I go outside, I do what I was not supposed to do. And then I come into the store with this thing. I was like, okay, so I forget who I was working with. I think his name was Mike. I don't know. And Mike's just like, okay, so you need a controller. I got the camo controller. I go, I need a game. And he's just like, here's what you do. Because I'm like, I'm just going to take out a random game. I don't know. He's like, no. You're going to buy Uncharted 2. He's like, you're going to buy this. No ifs, ands, or buts. Buy it. It was like $30 at the time. I was like, okay, cool. And I played that. And I remember the first 30 minutes, I was like, this might be one of the best games I've ever played. Like, full stop, that train level. I remember that train level just being in awe that video games could do this. And then beating that game, I was like, I'm an idiot. I think I'm really fucking dumb because what have I been championing for years is that this thing sucks and this thing's given me so much already.
Yeah.
Like, amazing.
And what a great game to start with. I mean, Uncharted 2 is legendary.
Dude, amazing. And like, yeah. I then just started dabbling in all the other franchises. Yeah. And the cool thing about working at GameStop is, you know, those games on the wall, they say that are new. They ain't. You're putting them in. You're trying them out for a night or two and bringing them back. So I was getting samplings of what the PlayStation franchises were all about, and I was really digging it. Like Little Big Planet. Shout out to you, making me feel like I could be competent at platformers. Like there were just so many games that I was like, I've been missing out because I've been so dumb for so long.
That's good. You came to that realization earlier rather than later, though.
Dude, you could see when I see 40-year-old men
for real,
like with Phil Spencer as their icon, I'm like, Jesus, guys, what is this?
It's bizarre, man. It's truly bizarre. Because I'm 43 this year, and I see guys my age. Just some of the stuff they say, some of the way they act, it's just baffling to me. Absolutely baffling.
Yeah, and like from that point on, well, not really that point on, because we'll talk like the Xbox One came out, and it was really fun to bash that for a good solid because of the way that
I like the launch Xbox One. The UI sucked.
Really?
The UI sucked. I get it.
Yeah, UI was awful.
But no, I was like I still, for all of its faults, I enjoyed the Kinect for what it was.
Okay, all right. So everybody else had fun bashing this thing.
I mean, and rightfully so. They made a lot of mistakes. That's undebatable, really. But
I think like that moment in particular is, seeing like the TV, sports, Major Nelson saying like it's not like flipping a switch, and then literally flipping a switch, kind of got to show like not. I guess at the time you could say the ugly truth about Xbox, but it's really the ugly truth about the industry of saying what you need to say. Because we have this marketing that dictates that, staying within the company lines and not deviating. And it's really that point where you really get to see these companies and corporations for who they really are, which is companies and corporations
their
that want your money.
businesses. Yes.
Yeah. And I get sometimes going like I was in a chat the other night going, Joe, you talk very highly though for a person that doesn't trust these corporations and companies. I'm like, I trust them to put out a product that I'm going to buy, and we have this handshake agreement deal. But once I see that you pull away from that deal, I pull away from you. That's how it goes. That's how it should go. Like I don't hold any allegiances to anything, because you take a look at Xbox, they've tried it a few weeks ago to bone you over, paying you double for something. You can see with PlayStation, no crossplay for the kids. Like they say that because they're afraid to lose money.
Yeah. Exactly.
It really is what it is. But long and short of it, yeah, that's why I'm a PlayStation boy, I guess.
Got into it at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what led you to, so you mentioned Beyond, which, if anyone listening is not familiar, you're referring to IGN's PlayStation podcast, because I listened to it for years. Actually have met some of those guys. I met Brian Altano, E3 2019. I met, I forget his first name now, Dornbush, who runs it.
Jonathan Dornbush.
Yeah, Jonathan. I ran into him on the street at E3 in 2019 too. But they've been around a long time, right? I mean, because wasn't it Greg Miller? Oh, at one point in time, way back when.
Yeah, it was. I'm blanking on the names.
And Colin was involved in that too, I think.
Yeah, it was a 3-man operation for about a year. The original hosts left. Greg took over with Colin, and that's where they started rolling into what would be the PlayStation podcast for a very, very long time.
Yeah, exactly. I think they kind of made it what it was, right? Yeah. So that's cool. That kind of got you into it. So when did you first? I didn't go back and look at this on your channel or anything else, but when did you first start?
I started in 2015.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a superhero's tale, if you want in on this. I started content creating with a channel name. Please bear with me here. I am embarrassed because it's so bad, because I was always bad with names. But it's called Poly Games.
Okay.
Hold laughter. And I tried that for about a year or two.
Okay.
I first started because I was losing my grandpa. Bam. Left turn. And I needed just an hour a day where I didn't have to think about reality.
Fair.
Or the situation at hand. My grandpa is he is like the father figure. My dad continues to work 14-hour days. He doesn't know how to stop. So my grandpa and my brother were there for me as a kid and growing up. And so he had cancer, I believe stomach cancer. And when we found out, they're like, he does not have a lot of time. The thing about my grandpa was he never wanted to be a burden on people. So he was in pain when he was eating. He just wasn't telling us. We thought he was getting skinnier because, I have no idea why we thought that. I was really dumb. We should have been like, Grandpa, why aren't you should be eating more. And he'd be like, whatever. But my grandpa escaped fascism in Spain in the 1940s. He traveled South America with his friend. We'll just call him Lewis. And he became a merchant marine to gain his citizenship. He actually sees Japan destroyed and seeing it rebuilt. He goes to New York City one day, really just wanting a bite to eat of Spanish food. And he goes to the restaurant and he finds his old friend Luis that he used to travel the world with. He's the owner of the restaurant.
No way.
As that shit happens, I'm telling you, and this is the super Spark Notes version of it. At the corner of his eye, he sees a waitress. Her name's Mercedes, and she has 2 kids. The father walked out on him, and he's just like, as Luis is saying, yo, you have anything you want, dude, whatever you want. He's just like, I just need that woman to be my waitress. And he's like, okay, but it's the 40s, and she had 2 kids, so you know what that means. It's scarlet letter on her. He's like, I don't care, most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my whole entire life. takes her in, takes those kids in, gives them his last name. It's like he has like the coming to America story. And so losing him, losing that, losing the person that was like my North Star fucking brutalized me. So I needed to get out of that headspace. So I made things about video games because I love them. And I had no idea, still don't, of what I was doing. But I started off, I didn't know how to do capture recording. So I have this Elgato station here. I just hit record, just start talking. Like, it's bad. It's
I've been there, man. Don't worry about it. I've been there.
It's real bad. I had the Razer Kraken mic. It was awful.
Dude, I filmed my first, this is not a joke, and the video is still on our channel. I filmed my first unboxing video with the Kinect from my Xbox One on the coffee table in front of my TV on my knees.
Ooh. And you're like, and I bet like when you're first doing, you're like, I'm onto something with this.
Yeah, this isn't bad. This is pretty good.
Yeah, and it was that when I lost him and I didn't do content creation, and the shitty thing about losing a grandparent, or the shittier thing, was having to then go to Spain because we had these tickets booked for like end of September, early October. Like my birthday fell around that time, so like I had a month to mourn him, and then I was literally in the house he was growing up in the town he grew up in shortly afterwards. So you're like having all these existential questions and thoughts rolling around your head. Not great. And I just remember just not, coming back going, I need to do this, and I really like doing this, and I need to get better at it. So like Poly Games in the beginning was just all things games.
Yeah.
I think 2 years after that, I started Bad Bit Games, and the whole goal of it was, the one thing I've always been told was, if you're going to go out there into the big brave world in college, make sure you have something on your portfolio that shows that you know what you're doing. That's outside. Show that you have a passion. Show you know how to do how that enters into your portfolio. So it's like, okay, I want to do PR because I really like games. I want to do something in this space. I'm not good at math. I think PR is going to be good for me. And my goal in the beginning was just get 1,000 subs. If I get 1,000 subs, which is a huge task, that'll show people that I know what I'm doing. I know how to get here. I know what I have an idea. And I remember once I hit that, I felt like the burden was kind of off my shoulders. But the way I came up as well was, it wasn't through any of these communities so much as just me doing it alone for a really long time and stumbling into various communities. So like I met my friend Sean, I met my buddy Bobby. I would go on through like kind of funny boards and meet up with Kyle, who would become my co-host. And it's really stumbling through my way where I started meeting awesome people like yourself. Like it's been a weird journey, but that's really how it started. It was really through loss and needing to get out of that negative headspace.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. I thank you for sharing that, because that's not easy. And we're all human, right? We all deal with similar things of that nature. But I think what really impressed me most about that story you just told was really when you think about what some of the guys, well, not just guys, right? Guys and women, just our previous generations dealt with in their lives that today would be considered very extraordinary. Whereas, I've heard so many stories, and even my dad, because I'm older. My dad was old when he had me, so my dad's in his 80s. So I mean, just some of the stories and my nan lived through World War II, in England, and you hear the things that guys like that and women like that went through, and they're still at that age, just positive people and a positive outlook. And then I see people, it always gets to me, and I think that's what keeps me so balanced. People always ask, I'm never too high, never too low, and it's just like, whenever you think you're having a bad day, you're not. You're just not. There's so many worse things that could be going on. You know, if a bad day for you is you woke up late and got yelled at work and, you know, stubbed your toe or something, that's not a bad day. You're fine.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And that's the same mentality I've, through this, the Rona situation is like, I have a roof over my head. I'm good. I have people that love me, that support me. I'm good.
Yeah. I've got food, roof, people I love. I'm playing video games, you know, everything else is cherries.
Exactly.
I mean, it's interesting. So, but no, that is, you know, equal parts touching, but equal parts cool. And how you got into that. So really neat, man. So, you know, with the PlayStation focus, one of the things I've talked to, not just in the prior episodes of this about, but in general, I know you hear me preach about this and you and I have talked about this, but, you know, being a singular platform focus, I can imagine it's hard because it's hard when you're covering all platforms, but especially when you're covering a singular platform to, as you said, not let your focus go on to putting down the other platforms, because we see it a lot, and I talk about it a lot, and I feel that it's very easy to fall into that kind of mindset. And I think what I really enjoy, like I've said many times now, about your content for PlayStation is it's PlayStation focused. But that's it. It's PlayStation focused, positive. There's no need to look down negatively at what else is going on other platforms or other parts of the industry, because there's so many good things to talk about with PlayStation. Yeah. So, you know, just open thoughts on that topic. What do you feel about the community around that kind of, you know, ridiculousness? And, you know, have you struggled at times with the age-old questions a lot of us content creators do, which is, you know, do you ever struggle with, well, if I would just kind of target this content here, I know it could get 3 times the hits, but I would be doing a disservice to myself and the channel in the long run by doing it. You know what I mean?
I know if I put caps lock on a certain word, it's gonna hit.
Exactly.
I get it. And like I did that as well. Like I think last week's episode, just for me to have a little internal laugh. But like for me, so I came out of crossroads because I was very much like daily content, making news about everything. First thought that enters my mind type of content, just like any other content creator that does like a Young whatever, and they do a great job at that. You know, not to dismiss his work. That said, I remember, God, who's the guy that ripped off stuff from IGN?
Oh, I know who you mean. The review?
Yeah, I think his name was Marcus. No, Philip.
I think that's right. Yeah, I know Philip who you're talking about. Yeah.
I made a video on him, and it literally took 10 minutes tops.
Okay.
And I remember being really angry because I was really angry. This guy cheated his way up here. How dare he, sir? I'm going to bring him down a peg. And I remember doing that video. I felt really good about it in the beginning. I was like, got this off my chest. I said some really funny jokes. When Joseph's angry, Joseph's probably the most hilarious. And
I remember that from the future.
So like, you know, for me, I felt great. I made the great points. It's not like I was in the wrong. This guy's obviously a D-bag.
Yeah.
And I got a call that night, and like the video did about 10K. So like, awesome, right? I got a call that night from my friend Bobby. And this is why this guy means literally everything to me. We have the Gaming with Guru GoFundMe. He's in the hospital with COVID. So yeah, we got to help him out any way we can.
I'll put it in the, give me the info. I'll put it in the notes.
Thank you. So he calls me up that night and he's like, John, I want to talk to you about this video. It's bad. Like, what do you mean it's bad? I got like all these clicks. It's like, dude, I actually kind of think this is the direction I think I should take this channel. I'm getting all sorts of attention. He's like, but like, is that the attention you want? Like, is this who you really are? Is this who you want to be? And I'm like, I mean, I'm funny. He's like, but like, is this the people? He's like, think about the people you're bringing in. They're gonna expect this from you every video, every time you make content. They're expecting you to be this vitriol because they're miserable people that just want to feel something that's not miserable. They want to spread that miserableness. And I remember getting off the phone with him, going, he's just fucking jealous because I got 10K and he didn't. But then I sat back and I really thought about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this isn't the person I am. This is not the person I want to be. I gotta stop doing what I'm doing and really think about what I want to continue doing. And it rolled around to Fallout 76. And like there was YouTubers, I remember making 10 videos in the span of 5 days about broken garbage this game is. We got to the point where we're bitching about a nylon bag. It's just
which I own, by the way.
How is it?
It's garbage.
Here's the thing. I was like, I made a video on that too. I remember playing it for like 3 hours tops. And I was gonna make a video, and I did it, and I couldn't hit send. I couldn't hit send because I'm like, this video shit. Not because it won't do well, but because I don't believe a word I'm actually saying. I'm feeding into the bullshit train.
Yep.
And that's when I had the trophy room. I believe that's when that started. If it's not 2017, I'm a liar. I think so. And so, or at least the proto version of the trophy room. And I was having so much fun talking to my friend Kyle, who at this point I'm getting to know Kyle. Like Kyle comes aboard this podcast in November because my old co-host bows out, and I'm looking for like a replacement. And he hits me up going, "Hey, I'd love to be a guest one time." And I have such a great time with him. I invite him on in December because he goes to PSX and I want to know all about that, right? And I was like, this kid's got something. And so I remember just talking to him for the first year, and we're truly getting to know each other and having fun with each other. And I was like, this is the content I like doing. I like having these conversations. Yeah. This is way better than throwing gasoline onto a fire.
Yeah.
And that's when I stopped doing YouTube videos. Because I'm like, this is shit. This isn't. You look at every YouTube video, it's almost going to be the same. And
I've had that conversation.
Yeah, it's like
everyone takes the same topic and makes the same points. Yep.
And don't deviate from said point.
Yep.
And I was just like, yeah, every video is the same. Everybody's saying the same thing, but different verbiage. It's like, it's almost like it really is. It's just you're copying. You know, like if this was a college paper, I'd be thrown out. And it's really the reason why I love podcasts, because though we're going to talk about Anthem this week, we're going to have a different talk than any other podcast about it, because Kyle is just he has a lot of love in that heart of his, and I am just cynical as always, and or wanting to break that man's heart and soul every episode I can. And so like, we're gonna have a fun time talking about it. It's gonna be different, I hope. And just seeing, like if I'm Xbox, what's the latest thing that happened? Senua came out. It's a picture. What does this mean? Will Hellblade come out this year, 2021? Exclamation point, question mark? Confused? Like, that's what it's been.
You're
and I'm
right.
like, is this?
God, you know, the most recent one, which you could predict to a T, was the Bethesda acquisition.
Yeah.
I mean, just the wealth of videos that were saying the same thing. And if they were Xbox focused, the word exclusive was all over it.
Yes.
You know, every single title was Xbox,
yes.
or Xbox buys Bethesda exclusive, you know, like, and it just got exhausting. And the sad, you know, speaking from a point of the business, you know, itself, it always shocks me how many of these guys who have either good or big audiences who don't know anything about the business. I mean, they just don't. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, these guys don't work in it. They've never had a job in an industry like it. And they don't know how the leaders of these businesses think or why they make decisions. And it's just, it's apparent to anyone who kind of does that kind of work. It's as bright as day. I mean, you can just hear it. And yet they just
You'll say, like, this is Microsoft's business statement. They'll be like, what's that? Or mission statement. They'll be like, huh? Yeah, like, make games. It's like, no, it's not. It's not their mission statement.
Yeah.
It's like they you're right. And look, I'm very much outside looking in as well, but I try to have that I'm from the outside looking in as well. And so like I'm not here to say I got the inside scoop, I got the
Yes,
inside source, I got
that's the difference.
sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like, okay, so here's what I would think is happening, but I know as much as you. And I feel like that lends us to have a more inclusive talk with our fans, because then, you know, our audience, because like then we're kind of talking together like we're friends at a water cooler moment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're so right. Like a lot of these people, and really what really hangs on with YouTube is 90, you know, just like love, 90% of it's charisma. You know what I mean? That's what I've been told. And you know, 90% of it is coming out with the confidence, like you know what you're talking about, and having the charisma to sell that you know what you're talking about.
It's a matter of factness that is both sells on YouTube or content in general, not just YouTube. But that I find so, I don't know what word I'm looking for, distasteful. You know what I mean? It's like, why are you talking as if you know when you work a job for, and I'm not putting anyone down, but an hourly wage job over here. And just like everyone else that's talking about this, is not involved in the actual process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And those people act like they're the authority of the thing.
Correct.
And so then people are misled, because when people are reading on Twitter, you're getting a whole lot of different, like you don't, when you're reading, you don't get the emotion or what how they're emoting it. Right. So you're kind of people, you can read something in an accusatory tone or in a sarcastic tone. It's what they're putting in front of it before they're reading it. And so you got a lot of people that like are joking with each other with the console war nonsense. Like they really don't care and they're just bullshitting each other. And you have hundreds of people that have no idea and are just going in on it. And it's like, guys, they're joking around.
Yeah. And I like the way you said it too, is if everyone treated it as, instead of acting like the authority, treating it as you're a fan of this industry and wanting to have a conversation about it, recognizing that, hey, it's okay to be wrong. You're not working at this company. You know what I mean? You're speculating like everyone else. I think it would be a lot more enjoyable. We'd get a lot more enjoyable points of view and discussions than we get today.
Because honestly, you take a look at that Bethesda deal.
Yeah.
What's a cooler thing for us? Maybe it's just us. What's a cooler take? Hey, I know what's gonna happen, right, with this, or hey, if I'm Xbox, what should I do?
Yeah. What would I do if I kind of was in the reins for fun? You know, you're thinking about it from a fan perspective. Yeah.
And really questioning even the things. I tell this to everybody when it comes to video games or really any industry, just in life in general. If you're expecting the outcome 100% of what you're thinking, no, that's not it. It's really always going to be that compromise in the middle. It's always that gray area. And so like for me, I'm just like, I'm always even questioning the things that I am thinking or what I want. Because like if I'm an Xbox guy, I'm like, yes, I want every game to be exclusive. But does that make sense? And why would it or why wouldn't it? Let's think about it.
Yeah.
You know? And instead you get these, here's why it's going to happen. Here's what PlayStation.
Exactly right. Yeah. People talking about, you know, they're the authority on what Microsoft spent $7.5 billion on. It's like, you know, I could go on and on about this. We won't stay on it, but yeah, I mean, the point's made, right? The point's made.
And I think the one thing that we have to do a better job of is really, who are we actually listening to? Like, who are we actually getting our knowledge from?
Yeah.
Because I get this all the time where people are like, Joe, you're like one in a million, man. You're a PlayStation guy who sounds like you play a Halo. You know what a battle rifle is? You're like, yes, and yes. Because like, there's a lot of like Sony ponies out there.
It's the whole team thing. Like, to like one thing, you have to hate another thing, and that's never been the case. And I think I said this, I think talking to Cog, but I think it extends further than obviously gaming, right? It happens kind of everywhere now. It's like, well, if you like this, then you can't like this. It's like, why not?
Tribalism is at an all-time high.
Yeah, and it's exhausting and dangerous. Really and as we've seen. You know, which we won't get into either, but it is exhausting. And I agree. I think it doesn't help I think the point you were making, please correct me if you weren't, but is
Yeah.
that, there's a big percentage of the community that looks to the kind of I don't want to say leaders because it's a bad word for it, but the people who have really popular content for
clout.
specific topics.
Yeah.
And clout's a good, yeah, there you go. And they look at them as authority figures when what they need to realize is they are not.
Yeah.
They're absolutely not.
Yeah, like I remember, first off, like, and a lot of those who you think who are the most venomous are all blacklisted. Like they have no industry ties whatsoever.
Correct.
I remember one person saying that he got, X game for free, trying to brag about it, and me knowing that like the night before someone told me, he's like, no, we have that man blacklisted. Like, no, that's not, no, we don't work with them. It's
too funny.
You have to be, you have to look at everything with a little layer of skepticism, and especially on social media, when it comes to who you're following. And when you get the answer to that question, to that layer, then if you're following someone good or you're following, a trash person.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Look at the track record. Yeah.
It really is.
Yep. So one thing I want to talk to you about, the love for Bloodborne, man. I figure that you're probably the, at least for the foreseeable future, the person I'm going to have on that appreciates that game. I adore that game, and I really kind of adore the Soulsborne games. I know that's the phrase that's kind of used. But there's been speculation out there, and I've actually been sent for Season Gaming some of the kind of behind the scenes talk of, are we going to get that PC version that includes the remaster for PS5, etc., which obviously I'm hoping for. But I know you love that. I know, if I remember correctly, it is your favorite game, one of them all time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
First off, it's been, I hate to correct you here, 42,789 hours since we've gotten Bloodborne in 2015 or 16 hours.
Do you have an active tracker?
So I kind of do. I have a window that says days since. I literally, if I write days since in Google search, it'll be like March 24th, 2016. It'll just autocomplete. But no, it's funny because Greg Miller did a podcast just on Bloodborne because he finally beat it. And so I was just like, me not on this podcast? I call folly. This one doesn't count. Yeah, man. What do you want to know?
No, man, I just thought it'd be fun to kind of jump, just to talk about it. So, I mean, do you, first of all, say the love of it. So did it start with Bloodborne, or were you into the Souls game previously?
So here's the thing, right? I'm on a PlayStation 4 now. I'm like, PlayStation 4 rocks. Boo, Xbox, boo. I'm playing these games and they're not hitting that well, but I can't say that because boo, Xbox. So I remember leading up, they were really hyping the Order 1886.
Yeah.
And not so much Bloodborne in the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
And I remember that game falling flat, and then all of a sudden IGN has this month-long Bloodborne thing.
Yeah.
I was never into that series. Like, Dark Souls, never been. There was something about that trailer that I was hooked. And I'm really thinking it's the Victorian setting. And I remember leading up to that launch, just getting more hype for this game that I truly don't have an idea how it's going to play. And I remember first, getting into my PlayStation 4, have the Steelbook there. That's right over there.
Yeah, mine's on the wall. I got it.
Love it. And and so like the first 3 hours I was like, I hate this game. This game sucks. I'm dying.
As most people do with those games. Yeah.
And then I just kind of surrendered my will to it. I was like, I didn't just waste $70 on this. I'm gonna beat this thing. And it was beating the first boss, and I was like, oh, I feel like I really achieved something. Like, games have not given this. It usually just served me something. And they're not really, they're giving me a little challenge and a lot. This one's giving me some challenge. This one's really testing what I've actually learned from this level, from these characters that I've beaten. I remember fighting Father Gascoigne and beating him, and I was just like, oh my God, I did it.
Yeah.
After all the aggravation, it's that relief,
Yep.
that the dopamine release. I just did this that I didn't think was possible. And then reading how, there's like a little secret of like you play this little song
Yep.
for him,
The
the
music
music
box.
box, and it stuns him for a couple of seconds, and you just wail on him. Hopefully, by the time he's out of the stun, you've killed him. And I was like, oh my god, there's a lot of lore here as well, because there's a reason behind that music box, and just going deeper and deeper as the bosses go. I'm just like, this game, I've never known I needed a game like this. It's never been in my alley, and now all of a sudden it is. And even more so. And it was really the fight with Rom, the vacuous spider.
Yeah,
that son of a gun, where the game flips, and it's like, this is not actually a story about werewolves. This is Cthulhu. Where I was just like, whoa, what are you telling me? And like seeing the world then through the same world, but like through this different perspective, it blew my mind open. I was like, this video game is deep.
You just needed those eyes to be able to see.
Exactly, right? Grant us eyes, my dude. And I was immediately in love with this game. Like, I remember going to The Witcher 3 afterwards, because that one came out in May. After a month of playing Bloodborne, I was like, this game plays like shit. This is nothing like this. I hate this game. This game sucks. Bloodborne's the way to go. I remember thinking that game, that Bloodborne was obviously robbed by The Witcher 3, by Fallout. Because there's no way.
I'm curious where you're going here, because Witcher 3 is like my favorite game of all time. So.
But no, I'm not here to throw salt. But like it was just that was like, I've never had a game that I've been totally enveloped in.
Yeah.
And that was Bloodborne for me. And really now, after I've played Bloodborne, I'm willing to try any game you toss at me that's not a puzzle game, because I suck at puzzles. So like, that is why Bloodborne is so great to me. It's just like, I never knew I wanted a game like this, but now I know I need this game.
That's awesome.
And so like, I always say to people, like, my top 5 games, it's always hard for what number 1 is.
Yeah,
because I truly do think in the heart of hearts it is Bloodborne. Well, then I take a look at God of War, and I'm like, this game's a masterpiece.
It's a great game.
Is something. Yeah, like this is something else. So like, that is the game that opened my eyes to things. And also, shout out to Witcher 3, because I did play it 2 years afterwards.
Okay,
I was like, okay, so the combat isn't that bad.
No, it's not.
This world is amazing, though.
Yes,
like, the world is just stunning and stupidly gorgeous. So yeah, no, that's my fascination with Bloodborne, and it really became a thing on the trophy room, because not just because I mention it so much, because every time there's a review on something, everybody says it's a Soulsborne element, or to describe it. So that's why I have the counter for Bloodborne.
I got you. So did you then go back and experience the Souls games?
Excellent. Excellent question. Yes.
Okay.
I did a little bit of 2, wasn't a fan of it. Beat 3. Yeah, right. A lot of people are like, "Ooh, you did it."
Yeah. 3's the legend in my mind.
Yeah. That trophy's glitched on me because it says I didn't beat the final boss. I know I beat the final boss.
Oh man, that sucks.
You liars. Anyway, played it. I loved it. And then like games like it, I just gravitate towards. And maybe this is where I break off from popular belief and people start throwing stones at me. But when I can't beat a certain game, like I can't beat Neo.
Okay.
I'm not going to shit all over. Yeah. Neo does not give a shit about your feelings whatsoever.
No.
And like, I'll be like, okay, so I can't beat it. Like, and I walk away from it. I know what those games are. I know what they are trying to be. And sometimes I just don't have it in me to beat them. And
there's 9 billion other games to play. It's okay.
It's okay. And if you're like, well, I always wanted to get into this series, I'm like, well, I've always wanted to get into, I don't know, name a franchise. And I've always wanted to get into Star Trek, and I can't with all the sci-fi, numbers and philosophical questions. So, but I'm not asking for it to become an action,
people
series.
wanted to change to what they like. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So it's funny though, but I adore. I love those games, and I'm still playing through Demon's Souls on the PS5 as well, the remake. But Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, I think those are the two, in my opinion, that stand well above the other ones. I've played one through. I've played two about halfway through. I've watched playthroughs of all of them. Played Demon Souls. I beat Sekiro and reviewed it. Sekiro didn't land for me the same way. You?
Okay, the great example. This should have been the main example. I can't get into Sekiro. Okay. I got to like the second or third boss. It was like, I think it was Butterfly Lady. And I was like, this is too hard for me. And I still want, like, I have the itch to go back. Yeah. But I have a digital PS5 now, so I got to really wait for a sale. But like, I have the itch to go back every once in a while, but I'm not demanding that game be anything less than what it is.
Yeah.
And I get when people are like, oh, but like, games like Star Wars Fallen Order does that, gives you the difficulty settings. I'm like, it does for sure, but it's not in the same way.
No, it's not. It's not done the same way.
One to one.
Yeah, it's not. It's absolutely not. And Sekiro,
and if you want to get into a series like that, there's options. Exactly. Know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, Sekiro in my mind is an example of, and I like I said, I fully beat it, reviewed it. And it's expertly designed, as Miyazaki's games are. But it just didn't land it. That sense of Bloodborne and like Souls, when you're in that world, it's very hard to explain. It gives you this kind of strange sense that you're in something that's bigger and mysterious, and you're kind of finding your way. It's really hard to describe.
That when you're in that world, you have a sense that there's something bigger than you at play here. You don't exactly know what it is, and it's not until it feels like very end where you're like, oh, I was a pawn. And
it kind of unveils itself over time. Sekiro didn't do that for me. It was just kind of like, it was more just an action game with some mythology thrown in for me.
I was gonna say, is it because that was the one game where it was weird because they're like, there's this disease that's killing people every time you die, and I'm like, well, am I being punished because that's happening? And it's not really explained well because it's a Miyazaki game, and I'm like, well, this is the point where you really needed to explain if this is bad and I'm dying so much because I'm killing other people here.
Yeah. And there's some crazy stuff in it, which is really cool, but it just didn't land the same way. But that's neither here nor there. I wanted to make sure I touch on Bloodborne, speaking to you. Do you honestly think, yes or no?
Okay.
You honestly think we'll see it too?
Well, Sony bought 1% of a company.
Speaking as I know.
See, I got the inside scoop of this company. I can't pronounce it. Won't try because I'm gonna butcher it. Kodakawa. Got it. So they bought like a 1% stake in Kodakawa. And everybody's like, oh, this means that Bloodborne 2 is coming, and it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, the worst take I saw was, oh, Sony's acquiring From, and I'm like, oh God, guys, please stop it. It's 1.7% stake.
Who gave you Adobe Premiere? Take it away from me. So the reason, like a lot of people point to that is like, oh, that means you get this handshake deal they're gonna get to use From. That's not the case. It's really just for the anime that the company produces. But the reason why I think we're going to get a Bloodborne 2 is because there is more than this cult following.
Yes,
it's kind of like, I know we're getting it because we got the Demon Souls remake. That's a sign. Like, Demon Souls was never a game that was sought after.
That's true. People were not, they weren't going crazy for that to come back, and yet it did in fine form.
Yeah, and so like there was like this cult following for it because it's the thing that started it all.
Sure.
Sony knows, I think, that they have this formula. They have this audience that likes these type of games. That's why you see something like a Bloodborne or things like Neo in their lineup, right?
Yeah.
Things like Demon Souls in their lineup. They know that there's something there. So I think they want to do a Bloodborne 2 as well. I know From wants to, because they always talk about how they want to and how they would love to go back to Bloodborne. So you have probably, and also when we take a look at, like, you go into like their gear page, this is where I get more of the tinfoil hat on. It's side by side with Last of Us. It's side by side with Uncharted. You don't see that a lot with Sony IP. It's usually the first year they'll like do a lot of merchandising things with it, but they usually just it ends like that. With Bloodborne, it has hung around there in the merchandising department a little bit. Like there's even like a $10,000 watch or something. Why are you making a $10,000 watch? Who do you think you are? You know? But like, so I think if the merchandising sales are as good as I hope they are, you have one side that wants to return to it and another side that knows that the fan base wants this, because it's just at this point too, it's also in kind of PlayStation DNA. Like when you have, you know, places like Beyond and places like Greg Miller's Kind of Funny doing 2 back-to-back podcasts within the same week, kind of just making coverage on this game, you feel that it has to have some type of culture within it, within the brand. So I think it's coming. I would hope it is. I know also the thing that probably I should have led with was a few years back, they said that they had 5 games that they were working on. One of it is from a series that you're familiar on. One of it's a PlayStation VR game. One is an unannounced PlayStation exclusive. I think the other one was like an Armored Core or something. So it's just like unannounced PlayStation exclusive. There has to be breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's not
be something.
And it's not Elden Ring, because that's Xbox has the marketing right, so we know that's cross-platform. Right. Yeah. Which I think will be.
I don't even know if that game's coming out. Let's be real.
It's so from what I was told, and again, this could be bullshit, but you know, people send me stuff, you know, from various sources. This
is your inside scoop.
Speaking, you know, from what I know,
tinfoil hat,
it was supposed to release originally in fall. Obviously, pandemic. They had 9 months planned for polishing QA. That is ongoing, and we're supposed to see the game in spring with a release this fall. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, Birdie said the same thing in my ear. Wouldn't you know that? Like right now, if everything is going as according to plan, the one thing that's throwing a wrench in everything is the Rona. And so like right now, it's Elden Ring, if I had to guess, is in the polishing stage. Bandai Namco, I really think they're crazy enough that they go, okay, this holiday pretty sparse. We can throw this in here, and I really do think they think that this can sell really well in the holiday. I kind of think it can too, because they're seeing the success of not just from games, but like Sekiro is probably their big one that they're like, okay, if Activision had enough faith to throw money at it, we can too. So I really think once Elden Ring is done, we're gonna see a Bloodborne 2.
Oh, so.
It just makes sense to me in my heart of hearts.
Yeah.
If you follow that crazy town connector yarn from earlier, it's happening.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think so too. I would love to see both. I would love to see the game. Even if it's not as extensive as Demon's Souls, because it doesn't need it, right? But just an update. Give me just, higher resolution and give me 60 frames native, because I know there's the modder out there who's been working on that 60 frame update, but
he just released it on Patreon. It's just like, here it is. And that's one of the other things as well. I do think Sony is going to remaster this game. They're going to give it the whole 4K 60, and you're going to pay for it because we know you are.
Sadly, I will on that one.
They're like, you know you are. You little slut. What? What's that, Sony? Whoa. Okay. Yes. Like,
yes.
That's definitely in their MO.
So let's jump back over to kind of content. One of the things that Asa brought up a couple weeks ago, talking to him from Game On Daily, we got into the conversation around the difference in the Xbox and PlayStation audiences and the social media space that we are part of, right? So whether you want to call that the West, North America, whatever it may be. Now, it goes without saying, right, that PlayStation's audience globally is far bigger than Xbox's. They're in more countries, they sell more units, etc. But what Asa mentioned he's found with Game On, and I found the same, is that for whatever reason, it seems that you get more traction with the Xbox audience here and on Twitter. Now, speaking to you as a PlayStation content creator, I wanted to ask if you, from your experience now, especially as you said, you've been doing it for years now, do you have any issues with getting traction in a PlayStation core audience that's not part of the nonsense we talked earlier, right?
Yeah.
Or do you have you seen anything where the audience is based in other locations outside of North America primarily? I mean, how do you contend with that?
So I think the one thing that the Xbox community, I think, has that's different from PlayStation is that y'all been beaten down. I'm using the royal y'all.
Who's y'all? Not me.
like when it comes to the Xbox community, they've been. It's kind of like this brothers in arms mentality of like we've been through a lot with this system. We put our faith in Phil Spencer. He's literally on the crucifix at this point of Xbox. It is, and they're starting to get rewarded for that. And there's a mentality of this. It's kind of an aversion to this us or them, but it's, hey, we're in this together type of thing.
Yeah, it's a brotherhood.
And so I understand that traction because you get this audience that, hey, we're in this together. Oh, there's a fellow Xbox person over there. Let's go support him.
Yeah.
So there is this strength in having, let's be honest, at the grand scheme of things, the smallest fandom of the three, right? You got Nintendo, which is this huge thing. We got PlayStation, which is a big thing, and Xbox that is still somewhat young, but it's showing its age. It can drink, it can drive now, but not at the same time. Right? It can vote. It's that community's in ties with each other very well. I found with PlayStation, I think that happened at around the time of Beyond, the time of the PS3 era, where that y'all been beaten. We've been bruised. We've been through a lot. We've been through the blackout.
Early PS3 was probably the roughest time for PlayStation. Yeah.
And so if I'm IGN, I really feel like I lucked out because I think a lot of that PlayStation community hangs around the IGN, the Kind of Funny, and the Colin Last Stand folks. Because that is the holy trinity. Getting all religious all of a sudden of PlayStation. It's tied with those three. So as a PlayStation creator, of whom I've been really solely for about, if I'm being real to myself, 2 years, but rebranded into just the trophy room at large. I don't have trouble finding folks who want to listen. Again, like the growth's been crazy, so crazy that like in February, when I just peered at Podbean for just a second, it was like in 5 days we did what we did last year in a month. It's like that's nuts. And so my difficulty really is finding PlayStation creators that are level-headed. It's really hard to find that because a lot of people are, I think, at this point where, why do it because Mystic Ryan does it? Why do it because IGN or Greg Miller or whoever does it? And then you have these few small-ish creators, probably bigger than me theoretically, who are just really toxic, who you don't want to deal with. They're just overtly toxic. So my problem really is finding the creators I actually want to work with. Which I think has led into the strength of the trophy room because I find myself bringing on more Xbox folks than PlayStation folks. And when we could break down how are you thinking about this thing? This is how I'm thinking about this thing. And, having a consensus in the middle about it. I feel like that's what my audience wants. and that's what I like the most about it.
That's very cool. Yeah. I think that's probably a good perspective too. You're right, because I found myself as a big part of the Xbox community, because I kind of, I told this story last time, but real quickly, kind of got known on social media and got some attention to Season Gaming from writing some pretty deep articles about Xbox and their future. And it was right around the time when Spencer had taken over and started talking about what should be the direction for Xbox. And I love technology. That's my career, right? I'm in that stuff. And so when I heard him start talking about that, it resonated with me. And I was like, this dude knows what he's talking about. And, moving forward. So that I get your sense of the camaraderie there with the Xbox guys. And it is weird because, I'm a big PlayStation fan as well. And I talk to plenty of people about PlayStation all the time, but it does seem just more disjointed, if you will. Kind of here and there. Like you said, you have these really big places like Beyond are kind of funny. But then you've got this smattering, and there is a lot of toxicity. So it's that's got to be kind of a struggle, but
it is a struggle. And I feel like we talk about it a lot of, like I like Phil Spencer a lot, as much as I may have like deviated from that. Like I like when he said like, oh yeah, I own a PS4, I love it. And they're just like, whoa, you want a competitor's console? Like,
you're not supposed to say that.
Like going, he's talking like a developer and / businessman. He's not the Jim Ryan that's gonna be fake to you. He's actually likes this thing. To me, he is more of he's a bit more of a Jobs, right, type of character than anything. He has this grandiose vision, and he's letting the Wozniaks kind of deal with that vision. There's
a passion there that
yes.
There's people that treat it purely like a business because that's their job, whereas he treats it like a business, but he has a passion for that business.
Yeah. And we gotta, I think when we're talking of creators, like, I think the one thing is, on the surface, I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm wearing a shirt. I got the sacred symbols there. I got photos up there telling you that I like this stuff and Stanley. And I'm also at the same breath saying, I love Halo. I love Game Pass. Phil Spencer's a great dude. We should respect each other. That's a hard line to walk. And I think also in this era of tribalism, it's really hard. I think the most difficult thing is we can have our own little tribe that respects each other and tries to respect others. We do what we can. And I think hopefully the one other thing that I think people get from us is we're real. This is me when I'm off the mic, off the webcam, whatever. This is me. This is what, it's how it should be. I shouldn't have this caricature. The only difference is I'm caffeinated right now. It's obvious, and I'm sorry. But yeah, like, that's what it really should be. And building an inclusive community that, like, my whole thing is I don't care really politically where you line on. We have to respect each other. But my only outs are, like, if I got a lot of gay friends. I got a lot of trans friends. I've got a lot of people of color friends, right? Like, in Jersey, it is just this melting pot.
Sure.
And so it's easy for me to say and do those things and connect with those people because it's not foreign to me. Yeah. And trying to bring people into an inclusive space that is actually that. When I say that we have like a creator on or a person of color on, I'm bringing them on, and I'm not like, and here is my black friend, or here is my. It's bringing them on and not making a deal like it. This is just normal and it happens. But like, that's my literal only outs is like, if you're anti any of what I just said, being nice to people, treating them with basic respect, can't be here.
Yeah,
and that's really the hardest line to go. Yeah, that's the one, because honest to God, it's hard because at any time I may say a joke, I automatically know I'm walking on this wire. And I get people that try to call me out on it or try to question what I do. And I'm just like, no questions. This is what we believe in here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
And that's why I knew I had to take that left turn, because that's really the bread and butter. Is we understand, like, there was one person who we got very real during Black Lives Matter, and they're like, hey, I agree with you with all this stuff, but like, can you not? And I'm like, sometimes we just have to, though. Like sometimes we just have to have that calling.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helped our community for doing that, bringing in people of all kinds, and just knowing that everybody's welcome here makes my heart sing.
I mean, yeah, that transcends gaming, of course. But
Yeah.
I've often said gaming is one of the things. Now, my dad was a jazz musician and used to play clubs. And, if you've been around kind of professional musicians and jazz clubs and all that, there's never any type of conversation around race or where you come from, or it's all about how good you can play. That's it.
Yeah.
And I always felt gaming was my little space growing up in the arcades and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you came from. It doesn't matter. Any of it mattered, right? It was, all right, put your quarter up and play, and we'll see if you're worth your salt, standing here.
Yeah. And that's really what it should be at the end of the day, too. And that's, again, like it kind of sometimes feels like this moral thing that you're trying to balance, but it's really like, we're not here to make political statements. We're just here to try to make sure that you feel good here.
Yeah.
Welcomed here. That's always my goal. I hope I do it every week.
I think you do. I think you do. And I think some of it even ties back to what we talked about previously with just the matter of factness versus a conversation, right? If you're open to having a conversation with someone, even if you disagree. One of the funny things that's going on, I don't know if you've seen this debate. I think, you commented on it, Mass Effect.
Oh my God.
So Cog and I started this as a joke where we got into a conversation in DMs, I think, between Mass Effect 1 and 2. And then Dan chimed in, and I was like, wait a minute. What are you guys are both saying Mass Effect 2 is better? Yep. And it's blossomed into this huge thing. But we've actually had some people respond, be like, you're an idiot if you think that. And me and Cog literally in DMs are just laughing. It's just, we know this is just a fun conversation we're having. As long as you're not approaching a conversation like you're the authority and only your viewpoint is the real one, then we're going to be just fine.
I remember doing that tweet and last night, and I'm just like, when Ains wakes up,
I went to bed too. I woke up to like 40 some notifications.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. It's also obvious it's Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. We'll settle this in court.
But honestly, that's the same way, like with me and Luke, how we bicker at each other on social media, and how I call him an idiot, and he's like, "You're a dummy," and I'm like, "I slept with your mother," whatever. That's how it's now just evolved into. Yeah. But like, it's funny when people are like, "Oh, do these guys really not like each other?"
Yeah. When people can't tell.
No, it's not like we can't stand each other. It's like. But like, and that's one, like the one last thing is, I love having those little conversations. The one thing I never want people to think, though, is that like with the teasing, is I never want people to not think that like Kyle and I hate each other. I always want to sell people on the fact that Kyle and I were best buds. He's my moral high ground. Every time I get too analytical, he brings me down to earth. And so like the one thing that I always try to sell with us is like, we are best buds. We are trying to understand each other as well because we think differently. And that's what I hope people in our community feel as well, is that genuine love and respect for each other, no matter the background,
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So that's a good segue then. So, and I think we've kind of covered this to a degree, but if you were to kind of have a message out there, and you already do, but I mean, if we were able to kind of flick our wrist or snap our fingers, right, and kind of change the way journalism, media, gaming, how people, content creators, et cetera, cover, stream games, et cetera, what would you like to see more of? It's very obvious we want to see less of everything we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
But is there anything that you think about when you've had a moment where you've had just some incredible conversation or incredible video or podcast or something that's really stood out to you as, hey man, I really wish, excuse me, that we would see more of this type of content on a daily, weekly basis?
That's all. There's so many that come to mind. I'll give you try to do three quick. Main one, if I could just Thanos snap my fingers and we get rid of a term, it's game journalist.
Okay.
I just immediately, or games media, because like I see this one girl, she's talking about Miranda's butt and how like we should maybe like in BioWare's decision of like maybe we take that camera angle and we move it to her face because she's talking, right?
I mean, maybe.
Just maybe. Again, that's a suggestion. Maybe they make an original mode for Joe. But like, you know, like there was this. Then like this one person goes, well, you can't say that that's objectifying because some of your tweets are like, you know, the tall lady from Resident Evil could step on me, type of things, and it devolves in this like very playground-esque like taunting when we use the term. And I think a lot of people take games media or games news so serious. Yeah. It's not. This is e-news. You know, this is Entertainment Weekly. No one's living or dying here, right? Like it's not life or death. It's just video games. And so I understand that there are people that are trying to make this space a little bit better for them because look, if you're a female in this industry, you get treated a lot differently than if you're a male. Yep. It's just obvious. Like it doesn't take anybody with glasses or eyes can see that. You don't need a prescription.
The only way you're not seeing it is if you're choosing not to.
Exactly. And so, you know, I think people when they're like game media exposed, it's like what for like a subsidiary of some conglomerate that doesn't give a shit about you, just gives a shit about clicks. Oh man, that's crazy. Like stop it. And when people say that, it's like, who are you? Also, are you the arbiter of what's like right? I don't get what you're getting at here.
Yeah, and the people who usually call that stuff out, their content alone is
bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like let's stop using that demeanor and just understand as well, like every YouTuber that you see when they're saying like IGN shit and GameSpot is shit, they're all getting their information from IGN, GameSpot. Like, you know what I mean? Like I understand. I would like to say that I understand the struggle of like, you know, seasoned gaming of like, how do we get people that are good writers here that are writing about games and how are we trying to, you know, get ourselves to be, you know, a different take than an IGN or a GameSpot and how we get our eyes on our words. Yeah. Like I definitely, there's a conversation there for sure. Yeah. But just to attack, just to attack people that have opinion pieces by saying that this is the broad overarching game media when it's just like one person with a concern. Yes. It's craziness. So I think that needs to change. I feel like we're seeing that fight for the soul of what games should be. I don't know which side's winning, but that said,
it feels like a tough battle at times.
It does. It does, because I think both sides want you to fight strictly for them and keep pushing this whatever narrative they want. And I feel like by just being a good person, true to yourself, that I think that's gonna break through more and feel more genuine. That's at least what we try to do. Yep. I agree. Yeah. So like the one thing that I would love to see is a more inclusive community where we don't have to have these stupid arguments of like, you know, accessibility. You know, why does, you know, font need to get bigger? You know, because my eyes are getting old. I need to see it. I know there's some people that are legally blind that would like to see this too. I would love to see more people of color in there. And I feel like the one thing that this medium often does is I feel like people don't want it to be pushed. People want it to be genuine. Like I had this conversation where we had like Latinos in gaming. I'm Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And one person who was Hispanic goes, I don't like this shit, man. It's like, why? It's like, I'm just being treated like a piece of marketing. And that type of stuff has to feel organic.
Yeah.
Like what we said, what I said earlier is like, when I bring someone on, I'm not telling you their background. I'm just telling you what they do.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective because it goes without saying I'm as pale as a ghost. And I'm the very stereotypical white guy, blue-eyed guy, English guy.
Lucky son.
And so, but it's hard, because as with any conversation that obviously transcends gaming, I can't speak from experience. So I don't know what that feels like. From my perspective, I agree with you completely. You hear people say like, we're going to get off topic. I'm trying not to.
I'm sorry, I'm leading you there.
No, you're fine. I was going to give the example of, didn't they announce someone? I'm going back now. Didn't they announce a black actor was going to play Human Torch?
Oh yeah, that was a while. That was a while
ago, right? But there was outrage around it, and it's just like, at some point you've got to stop holding on to these things as these sacred. It has to be this way. I mean, at the end of the day, trust me, I get it. I love Chief, right? I mean, I adore him. I know what he looks like in the comics. Is it going to break my soul if an Hispanic guy or a black guy or someone else played him in a show? No, it's not that big of a deal. And
that broke through to me when I saw Force Awakens, when Rey holds the lightsaber. Spoiler alert. That I get super emotional at that scene because I get some people would get upset at it, but I got excited because I was like, oh shit, a little girl just got her Luke Skywalker. Like that's awesome. And
it's like when it really touched me when Gal Gadot met that little girl at the Comic-Con who had the Wonder Woman stuff on. And she cried when she met Gal Gadot, and I was like, "Man, that's it. That's what it's all about."
I saw a little girl dressed as Rey and a little black kid dressed as Finn running around a Disney store, and I got emotional. I'm like, "Is it because I'm old?" But no, it's because like
you're not old. You got to stop saying that.
Because what are you then? I get it. But like, that's awesome to me. Like that's cool. Like that is genuinely. Like knowing that the Mando looks like me is awesome. He's one of my favorite characters because you're like Master Chief is one of my favorite characters of all time. I've never been a big reader because I'm dyslexic, so I only got the games to really go off here. And I remember as a kid coloring my stormtroopers green. Because I really thought that under that mask, I could be the Master Chief. That's why I love Spider-Man. I could be Spider-Man. And so like, with Mando, I'm like, oh shit, there's an actual Hispanic dude. And he is badass. Like that's what I want games to be. And we don't have to be like, oh, IGN's trying to buy, social justice warrior points here. It's just like, no, we can just have this space where everyone feels so belonging. I think that's what you guys do really well. I think that's what the Iron Lords do really well as well. Is just like you're in this community, you feel like you belong. You feel like there's a kinship here. You feel like everybody knows each other. It's kind of like a Cheers moment, and you're only fixated on the passion. And that's what I think at the boilerplate of this should be is this: we should focus on what the passion is with games and champion that than a corporation that doesn't care about you. We should champion each other, the devs, the people that are making these games, and try to find how video games are made. How do they impact the developers? That's something we still don't really know at large. And it shouldn't just take a clip to really get to the bottom of that, or some IGN doc or whoever else. It should be something that is more standard knowledge. But a lot of developers, they don't want to tell you because they just get yelled at by you. And that's the thing that we have to be, and it's an overarching thing of just more understanding, loving the passion, respecting each other. That's what we need to get back to. I don't know if we were ever there, but that's what I hope striving towards.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And again, I think we're touching on things that have far-reaching impact beyond gaming, but I completely agree with you, and you know that. Yeah, so I don't have anything to add because you said it so well. So,
thanks, man.
So we'll leave that point where it is. So yeah, so I think when looking forward to 2021, then I kind of want to ask you what's next. I know you've talked about the growth that you're seeing with Trophy Room, and love to see it, man. I congratulate you on that, and I think it's great. And I, obviously for SG, I've posted about our growth, and I'm looking forward to 2021. And we got the announcement that E3 is going to be digital again this year, and I think the pandemic just kind of rolling on. As we think about this year and into the next, it's going to be in that vein where game shows and some of those other things that we've been used to for years still aren't happening, right?
Yeah.
So, as you look forward, I know you said you really love the podcasting. That's your bread and butter. And you've gotten back, I know, based on what we said about YouTube content and some of your newer videos. So what are you looking for Trophy Room as you continue to grow, man? Are you doubling down on the podcasting thing, and you still going to be doing the frequent YouTube videos and any other content?
So 2020 was the year of Kyle and I getting together, and I'm usually like the person that spearheads. Like I'm the big visions guy.
Okay.
And so as captain of the ship, I was like, our mission, because we have a Patreon, patreon.com/PS Trophy Room, is we're going to sound as good as we can to compete with a Beyond or a Kind of Funny or a Colin's Last Stand. That's our end goal. We want to sound because when you're podcasting, the Blue Yeti mic will only get you so far. And in 2020, we were able to do that. We were able to get this awesome mic right here, which was actually part of a graduation gift to myself. This mic is around $600.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Yeah, I love her so much because of the generosity of our community. And, Kyle as well got to upgrade his mic game tremendously. And now we sound really, really great. And now we've kind of have this overarching brand that I think resonates with a lot of people who are just like you. They just want to talk about gaming. They want to talk about that passion. And they don't want to be called names doing it, The one person, some people go to me like, Joe, why you sound so neutral? It's like I'm gonna be 30, guys. I got responsibilities, adult things. This is about talking about what we're passionate about, that niche, and that's what the Trophy Room is. 2021, we kind of go about the way we cover things is we like PlayStation. We love games. It's kind of like a beat reporter for any sport, right? You may love the Yankees, but you're covering the Brewers and you don't care because it's your sport. That's what we feel about when it comes to PlayStation. So we want to make coverage just like our podcast that talks about the ecosystem of PlayStation, only brings in outside mentions of Xbox or Nintendo if it relates to PlayStation. Or whatever ripple effects it could have on the PlayStation ecosystem. So you're never going to hear us talk about the PlayStation or the Xbox i price hike thing. You're not. Maybe of a quick reference, but you're not going to hear any of the fanboy jargon. What you are going to hear about is some thoughtful critiques on the PlayStation ecosystem. And we want to continue that with video. So Ains, this actually may be, depending on when this thing goes out, the first time you get to see what my lighting setup is going to look like.
Okay.
Because of amazing patrons, we were able to get this awesome camera that up our production of video. And that's the thing in 2021 is we want to start getting serious again about video content on YouTube. And through the same eye of we like PlayStation, this is the thing we're going to mention the most, but try to cover things that sometimes are outside of it. As long as it relates to it, we'll talk about it. So we're going to be doing weekly shows that talks about the PlayStation ecosystem, video essays each and every Monday. We're going to have the Trophy Room each and every Thursday. And then I have a new proto show that's happening on Fridays. And in between that, we'll do some news type stuff as well. But it's really PlayStation news, reviews, unboxings, and video essays, and of course the podcast everything that surrounds the PlayStation ecosystem.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's very cool. The community support allowing you to do that kind of stuff too, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I know I always sound like a broken record. It's like when we say it every week, it's like it's because of your generosity we're here. It's like I'm not bullshitting you. There's no way any of this was happening. And I got really emotional when the camera came in because this has always been a pipe dream. And when it came in, I was like, this is there's implications here. Yeah. I gotta deliver with this now,
Yeah, no, that's great to hear, man. I'm glad to hear about the expansions and looking forward to it soon, sincerely. So it'll be awesome. But man, it's been I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. It's been an absolute pleasure, Joseph. I I always love talking with you and bullshitting with you. And we got to play games more often too, man. I got to jump in with some stuff, especially Halo. We'll have to talk offline a little more, but obviously Infinite's coming, but I'm playing a Halo tournament. Did you see that Game and Beyond the Box is holding a Halo tournament?
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
I got a DMs about a Halo tourney. Okay. And I'm like, oh, y'all don't know that I play Halo almost every Saturday with my girlfriend Sean Caprio, the Xbox Drive. Y'all don't know what Joseph's cooking up. You don't know.
So, but yeah, man, it's always a pleasure. So it goes without saying that anyone watching this has knows who you are and knows where to find you. But anything you want to shout out as we get ready to get out of here, man?
Man, like always, you can find me over at Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You can find the show on Twitter as well. We just hit $1,000 over there. I can't believe it. Again, that's the one that stuns me the most. PS Trophy Room. You can find the video version of our podcast, The Trophy Room, where each and every week, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. Each and every Thursday, find a video version on YouTube of the same name. You can find The Trophy Room wherever you find your podcasts, whether that's Apple Play. Nope, did it again. Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever you find us, you can find the show there. And really, if we can end cap, this is be better to each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Take that passion about games, throw it out there. You'd be amazed how many people catch it, toss it back at you. That's the love of video games. I love seeing the passion of it. So we gotta bring more of that into the forefront.
Agree completely, man. Agree completely. So that's a perfect ending. So, man, it's been a pleasure. Thanks as always. This was Industry Perspective Chat. And we will see you in a few weeks. Peace.